As the video title indicates, there are some juicy new previews and updates for mobile Terraria 1.3. This includes developer comments, images from the beta of mobile 1.3, and also a few video clips showing off some of the features they've added to Terraria 1.3 for mobile devices. Let's begin with some recent developer comments. Quote, "Mobile will be a completely different code base, so old bugs will most likely be fixed. Instead, you get new bugs." I like their honesty. Quote, "Mobile has a really good interface where things are placed, so you don't have to move your hands." Well, that certainly appears to be the case. And then finally, quote, "I am not going to put a date or estimate on mobile release when it's done." So, no surprises on the release date, but try as they might to talk like Blizzard Entertainment or id Software, I do have a feeling that they're making pretty darn good progress on mobile 1.3. Their comment about the interface being good seems to be borne out by the previews I'm about to show you, so let's go ahead and start looking at those. I'll start with the images and then I'm going to move on later to the videos. Here we've got the updated World Gen menu. It puts everything into a single screen, no fussing, plain and simple. I do like the use of the good bunny and the evil bunny to distinguish normal from expert mode. That's a nice little detail, but other than that, there's not really a lot to talk about in this image. It's really just a quality of life fix to speed things along when you're generating a new world. So next, we've got this guy. The man himself, the Moon Lord, at long last on a mobile device. I thought it would look a little cumbersome or maybe too busy on a smaller screen format of a mobile device, but I have to say, everything looks to be in the right place. It just feels right. Those who play a lot on their phones will be able, more than me, to speak to this in the comments section below, but to me this doesn't look too unwieldy when you're fighting the Moon Lord. Even with all those on-screen controls and other things displayed, doesn't seem bad. This screenshot does show off the lunar event items that are apparently now available in the beta, and there's also the cell phone's data being shown, obviously, on the screen. So there's a lot going on. If I had to make any comment about the screen being too busy, it would probably have to be that I'd be tempted to remove the cell phone before fighting a boss as tough as the Moon Lord, just because I'd want that extra screen space to see movement on the screen. But at any rate, it's pretty neat to see the Moon Lord on mobile. It's a long time coming. Now this one is probably the most crowded shot of the bunch that was released recently. There's really a lot of stuff going on in this shot. There's house placement for a host of NPCs. You've got obviously all of the mobile controls on the screen, of course. And then we've also got a crafting menu open on the right-hand side of the screen. So this is pretty busy, maybe as busy as mobile Terraria 1.3 can get. Who knows? I guess that might be a challenge, but you know, to cram all of this activity onto a mobile device, even knowing how far mobile devices have come in the past 10 years, it's still very impressive to me. In this next shot, they've used the zoom in feature. You can see the plus and minus, presumably that's to zoom in and out still. There's the eyeball pet. And the player in this shot is wearing some really badass armor, I have to say. It does remind me of the Daedric armor from the Elder Scrolls series. But without question, the focal point of this screenshot, and I think the caption from the devs said the same, the focal point is certainly the use of the portal gun, which you may or may not know is a drop every time from the Moon Lord, and which this particular player has used to create a portal. If the item bar didn't give it away, the portal in the way is a reminder that 1.3 really is coming to us. It's one of the more iconic items from the Moon Lord, I'd say. The Moon Lord, rather. So it's good to see it in action. I like that. Next, what I noticed most about this one is how many gravestones there are. It would seem that whoever was playing this met with disaster time and time again. I count 8 and maybe even 9 gravestones in and around the cultists' spot at the dungeon entrance. Hopefully that's not the controls making life tough on the player. But clearly they haven't given up, and something was definitely about to go down when they took this screenshot. In this fairly large underground jungle cross-section, we're treated to a battle between the player and Plantera. Thankfully, they seem to have cleared out quite a decent-sized arena for this fight, but being the obsessive-compulsive sort of guy that I am, I probably would have put down more platforms just to ensure easy movement. Anyway, you know what's shown here, it's Plantera. We've also got, you'll probably see, some chlorophyte growing off to the side. And then finally from the images, for tax day, at least tax day here in the United States, the developers released a reference to the tax collector. It's obviously not the tax man, it's the steampunker, but their chat bubbles you can see has a little image of the tax collector. Don't remind me. But as it is, the steampunker has gold furniture, so don't worry about them. They seem to be making ends meet. They're doing just fine. But now onto the videos. We can rest easy now, knowing that tile manipulation and general mechanics from other versions of Terraria are apparently going to be supported by Terraria 1.3 for mobile devices. In this very brief video, the player is abusing the tile system and switches to move very quickly through those blocks. So for you tinkerers out there, you're going to have stuff to play around with and to experiment upon. So that's good. I know there are quite a few of you out there. It's good to see that you're not going to be shortchanged, at least in that department, which is a relief. In the next one, also a short video, we see a brief clip of the player hovering in place. The developers wanted to let everyone know that this would be a feature, but I also took note of the Stardust Dragon flying around. I have to say, having used it a lot, that's my favorite minion. The dragon is an excellent companion once you're able to get it, and I would imagine it's no different for the mobile version. It's a very powerful minion. It helps to maybe remove some of the burden on the player, and so I'm a big fan of it. I'd imagine you probably will be too if you haven't tried it yet. And now on the third video, which is the first of two slightly longer videos, the player is shown descending through the air, and as they are doing it, they're dashing multiple times. Now, I haven't had this in my hands to say how it would feel to play, but the mechanic does seem to work alright. You can actually see on the screen, that's the beauty of the mobile system, you can see on the screen how the controls are being used to do this. So presumably they've made it fairly intuitive, but other than that, there's not really anything to say about this one. And so moving ahead to the final video, we have the player using the Eye of Cthulhu Yoyo in one of my favorite farming locations, which is the late game dungeon. For whatever reason, I'm a big fan of this place. But anyway, the Yoyo is being controlled apparently by touch controls, and they seem to work rather well. I have to say the movement looks very fluid, as far as I can tell, and they've got the yo-yo bag equipped to add some pop to this particular yo-yo. And I'd say that any player on mobile Terraria 1.3 that has a high-end yo-yo, modified godly, and a yo-yo bag, they're going to prove a pretty formidable opponent for most enemies anyway, because the player here is making short work of these high-end dungeon enemies. Depending on how the controls on mobile feel to you, this might end up being your favorite default weapon, but that's certainly up to you. And that's that. I'm sure there's a boatload more to come. It does sound like development will be continuing for a while longer, and so with that being said, I'm going to try my very best to keep all of you posted on any material as it hits the internet. Thanks to everyone for watching. Hit that subscribe button please if you would, and be sure to keep an eye out for future videos. Thanks to all of you for staying to the end of this video. I hope it was interesting to see this 1.3 Terraria material on a mobile device. It was kind of a breath of fresh air to see the late game stuff finally in that format. But anyway, thanks again. See you all next time.